Hey students, welcome back to Super Science Hub. Today's video on sample paper 2 with answers part 2. Part 1 I uploaded last week. If you didn't watch, go through the link. As well as part 1, sample paper 1 with answers. 4 parts of video links are given under description. If you didn't watch it, you go through those links also. And if you are watching first time my channel, please subscribe and encourage us to do more educational videos. Let's move to a video in this video, from question number 17th to 26, we'll study here. I'll explain each and everything clearly. Let's start. From question number 17th to 20, all are case-based questions. Means there will be a provided context. You have to read and understand thoroughly and answer the questions given under each context. Like a 17th, there will be a 5 MCQs or blanks like that. 5 questions will be among 5. Any 4 you can answer. If you didn't watch previous videos, like where I had explained the complete pattern of the question paper, go through previous videos. Let's start the 17th question. Human beings, like other multicellular organisms, need regular supply of food, oxygen, etc. This function is performed by circulatory system. Double circulation ensures supply of oxygenated blood to all body parts for efficient release of energy to ensure higher physical activity and thermoregulation of body. It also provides for direct passage of all deoxygenated blood to lungs for oxygenation. This is the context provided. Then see the question and answers. The first question, which of the following statement is correct about the human circulatory system? Option A, blood transports only oxygen and not carbon dioxide. It's false, no? Human heart has 5 chambers. Oh, of course, it's also false. Next, valves ensures that the blood does not flow backwards. Yes, veins have valves there. Small valves are there inside the veins that used to prevent backflow of blood. Next, D is both oxygen rich and oxygen deficient blood gets mixed in heart. Oh, it cannot possible. No, it is not happening. So, which is the correct statement? C is the correct statement. So, option C is the correct answer because valves have veins. We have the arteries, veins, and capillaries. 3 types of blood vessels. No, veins having valves to prevent backflow of blood because in veins blood pressure is less than the arteries. Okay, move to the next question. Single circulation, that is blood, flows through the heart only once during one cycle of passage through the blood through the body is exhibited by. You can see here option A, labio, chameleon, salamander. B, hippocampus, exocetus, anabas. C, hyla, rana, draco. D, whale, dolphin, turtle. You can see here that we know that where the blood both only one time blood cross the heart only once during a one cycle. If a heart has only two chambered heart, if the two chambered heart, that is only going to possible by once in every cycle, isn't it? So which category of the animal classes are having the two chambered heart? You know that fish. Okay, fishes all having the two chambered heart. If you can go for the amphibians and reptiles, amphibians and reptiles, they have the three chambered, and mammals have the four chambered, isn't it? Mammals have four chambered heart. Now if you can see the each option, what are the animals given here, which category they belongs to. The first one is the first category, option A. These are the reptiles, amphibians and reptiles. These all are the fishes. You can see these all are the fishes. These are the reptiles, and these are the mammals and reptiles. Okay, That's why option B is a correct, because of these three animals comes under category of a fishes. Fishes have two chambered heart. There is a possibility to pass one time only during one cycle of the transport system, means the circulation of blood. Okay, what is the correct answer? B is the correct answer. Let's move to the another question. Which one of the following blood vessels contains only deoxygenated blood? Yes, we have three blood vessels: veins, arteries, and capillaries. Veins all are deoxygenated blood and arteries are the oxygenated blood. Here, one vessel which is containing deoxygenated blood they are giving. So pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery is the only artery which carries deoxygenated blood. Means carbon rich blood. But remaining all arteries are carrying oxygenated blood except pulmonary artery. That's why B is the correct option. Go for the next question. What is the name of the red pigment carrying oxygen in blood? Yes, there is a why the blood is red in color, because there is a one pigment that is called as a hemoglobin. That is called as a hemoglobin. Due to that, the blood is red in color. And what is the use of that hemoglobin, which used to carry the oxygen throughout our body? Okay, answer is hemoglobin. Option A is the correct answer. What about the myoglobin? Once you see the remaining options also, myoglobin is also the pigment which is present, one of the protein which is present in skeletal muscles. After that, hemolysis. Hemolysis means destroying of blood cells. Destroying of blood cells, that process is called as a hemolysis. And hemocyanin. This is also the pigment which is present in a blood only, but not a human being's blood. It is like a snails. Snails, they have the pigment of hemocyanin. Let's move to the another question. The normal diastolic blood pressure in a healthy adult human is, yes, have you remember that systolic and diastolic blood pressure? BP we used to take as the blood pressure as 120 mmHg, millimeter of Hg, and 8 mmHg. Okay, what is this? The first one is the systolic pressure, and down one is the diastolic pressure. Okay, diastolic pressure. Here the systolic pressure is nothing but whenever the heart used to contract and blood comes out from the heart, that time that pressure is a systolic pressure, systolic blood pressure. Diastolic in the sense whenever the heart relaxes, that time pressure will be very less. No, that is the diastolic pressure. That's why always diastolic pressure will be less than the systolic pressure. What will be the correct answer? It would be B. Sorry, A is the 80 mmHg. mmHg is the millimeter mercury. Okay, the correct option. Systolic and diastolic blood pressure is 120 by 180. But in the question, what they are asking? Only diastolic pressure. That's why option A is a correct one. Let's see the 18th one. Have you understood the complete 17th 5 questions? Among 5, any 4 you can write. Now we will see the 18th question. Read the following and answer any 4 questions from 18.1 to 18.5. A convex lens, which is also called as a converging lens or positive lens, is thicker in the middle. A light rays pass through a convex lens, converge or brought close together. There are various uses of convex lens like a microscope, magnifying glasses, camera, correction of hypermetropia, etc. Then we'll see about concave mirror given. Concave means haloed inward or curving in. So concave lenses are haloed inward. A concave lens is also called as a negative lens or a diverging lens. There are numerous uses of the concave lens like in telescope, cameras, lasers, glasses, binoculars, etc. This is the context given here. Then we'll see the question and answers. First one, study the following ray diagrams. The diagram shown the correct path of the ray after passing through the lens. After passing through the lens, whether it is a correct passage, a correct refraction, we have to check, and what are the correct one, we have to take the option among these four. First one is, you can see the light ray is passing through the pole. Did you remember that we have the four ways standard incident rays before drawing the ray diagrams? We used to study, same the standard incident rays given here. Look, the first one is incident ray, means the ray of light is passing through the pole. It will not get deviate. It will pass through that only. There is no deviation. There is no deviation in the refraction. Okay. So first one is a correct one. Second one, if the ray is passes, means light ray is parallel to the principal axis, then refracted ray will pass through the focus, means F2, second focus, because of the first is this one. This is also correct one, that we know. Parallel in the sense should go through the focus. Next, third one is, if the ray of light passes through the focus one, then the refracted ray will be parallel to the principal axis. So third one also correct. Fourth one, if the light ray is passing through the focus, it has to go parallel to the principal axis, isn't it? The refracted ray should be parallel to the principal axis, but it is going through the focus too. It is a wrong one. So what will be the answer? 1, 2, 3. 3 are correct. So C will be the correct answer. Have you understood that? C is the correct answer. Let's move to the another question. Two lenses A and B have focal length of 20, plus 20 and minus 20 centimeters respectively. What is the nature of lens A and B? A concave, B convex. Option B, A convex, B concave. Both are convex, both are concave. Did you remember that sign convention? Sign convention of convex and sign convention of concave mirrors, lenses. Yes. That is the thing. That is the thing to remember, to identify. Always front of the convex or concave, front side always will be the negative values, and behind that there will be a positive values. Whatever the quantities you are going to measure, front side of the lens will be negative values. Whatever the quantities you are going to measure behind the mirror, all the values will be positives. Same like that, the down will be negative, upside on above the principal axis will be negative. This is the concept already you might came across with these criteria, and try to understand here also. Positive sign, always convex lens focal length will be positive, and concave will be negative. So what will be the correct option? B will be the correct option. A is the positive. Positive indicates it is a convex lens. Negative indicates it is a concave lens. Option B is the correct one. See the answer? Understood? Sign conventions you have to remember many ways. It's very helpful. Then move to the another question. A student focused the image of a distant object using a device X on white screen S, as shown in the figure. You can observe in the figure. If the distance of a screen from the device is 40 centimeters, select the correct statement about the device. First, see the statements what are given here. In this statement, we know that this is how it is. You can see all the lines are unite at one place, so it would be convex lens, isn't it? Because of all the rays are passing and unite at one place. That is nothing but we can take the screen, yes, as a focus. Because of at focus only all the lines used to unite, no? Converge, no? Okay. Now you think this, if it is a convex lens, how the statement is going to related to this? Which statement will be the correct? We can see. A device X is the convex lens of focal length 20. Convex lens is correct. So focal length, we will think about that. And B is device X is a concave mirror. Oh, it's wrong. For with the 40 centimeters. And a device X is the convex mirror. Of course, it is also wrong. Then the device X is the convex lens of focal length. So among A and D, we have to think. Here you have to remember, think one thing, that is always the convex lens is converging, no? Then the distance between the screen and the convex lens gives the approximate value of the focal length. Approximate value of the focal length. This will be the focal length also will be 40 only. 40 only. So what is the correct option? D is the correct option. Okay. D is the correct answer. Understood? By the converging of a rays, refracted rays, we come to know it is a convex lens. Then if the convex lens, the distance between the screen and lens is, means the object is 40 centimeters, that is equal to the focal length. Okay, move to the next question. A child is standing in front of a magic mirror. She finds an image of her head bigger, the middle portion of her body of the same size, and that of the legs smaller. The following is the order of combination of the magic mirror from the top. Plane, convex, concave, convex, concave, plane, concave, plane, convex, convex, plane, concave. These are the options are given. We'll see now. First, head is showing a bigger. We know that concave mirror gives a bigger size. Real images, no, maximum. It used to give the enlarged size, enlarged. So it is bigger in the sense concave will be first part. Middle will be the same. Of course, plane mirror, if you can take how much size of the object, the image size also will be the same. So plane will be the plane mirror, middle one. Then legs are smaller. So convex mirror gives smaller. All are the diminished images, no? Okay, so option C is the correct answer. Concave, plane, and convex mirror. Understood? From the data given in the question, easily we can understand that. Move to the next question. If an object is placed 21 centimeters from a converging lens, the image formed is slightly smaller than the object. If the object is placed at a distance of 19 centimeters from the lens, the image formed is slightly larger than the object. The approximate focal length of the lens is, here one is a slightly bigger, another one is a slightly smaller. So we know that what is the lens here? It is a converging lens. So converging lens is a, what is that? Oh God, convex lens, no? Convex lens is the converging lens. What is that concept? Have you got this concept? One is a 19 and another one is a 20. If 21 you can take, it will be a smaller. If 19 is bigger, average we will take, between them we will keep 20 centimeters. If you can keep 20 centimeters, the size will be the same. Oh, then at which point, if you can place a object, the image also will be the same size. Whenever you keep on a center of curvature or 2f2, that time the size of the object is equal to the size of the image, isn't it? So if the distance between means the center of curvature is 20, then what will be the focal length? Half of the center of curvature, no? Focal length is equal to half of the radius of curvature. So F is equal to 20 by 2. We will get the 10 value. 10 is the correct answer. C is the correct one. Okay, have you got have you understood this? They are telling 21 means smaller, little smaller, and 19 means slight larger. In middle, we will keep as a 20, the same size. That is nothing but the center of curvature. Wherever, whatever it may be, like either lens or mirror, convex or concave, if you can, not mirror, convex mirror, sorry, concave mirror or convex lens. In both cases, if you can keep an object at a center of curvature or radius of curvature, the size will be the same. Okay, so half of the radius is nothing but the focal length. From this, we come to know 10 centimeters on the correct answer for the focal length. Okay. Yeah. Next, move to the 19th one. Read the following and answer the 4 questions from 19.1 to 5. The main credit for the classifying elements goes to Mendeleev for his most important contribution to the early development of a periodic table of element, where in the arrangement of elements on the basis of their fundamental property, the atomic mass, and also on the similarity of chemical properties, the formula of their hydrides and oxides were treated as basic criteria for the classification of elements. However, Mendeleev's classification also had some limitations, as it could not assign the position of isotopes. He also left some gaps in the periodic table. Okay, move to question and answers. 1. In Mendeleev's periodic table, gaps were left for the elements to be discovered later. Which of the following elements found a place in the periodic table? Among this, one element only is there. That is the germanium, where he kept a place, where he left a gap for the element. Okay, one of the element is a germanium. Move to the next one. Which of the following are the characteristics of isotopes of an element? Generally, isotopes are nothing but the same atomic number, but atomic mass will be different. If atomic mass is different in the sense, there will be a slight change in their what is that? Properties, not a properties. What is that? Atomic number change, chemical properties will change. Okay, atomic mass is same in the sense. Sorry, atomic mass is same for isobars. Atomic mass is different for isotopes. Isotopes mean atomic number is same, atomic mass will be different. Among these 4 statements, we will try to identify which is the correct one. A. Atoms of an element with a similar chemical properties but different atomic masses. Yeah, we will think because of different atomic masses are there. Next, atoms of different elements with a similar chemical properties but different atomic masses. We'll see. Atoms of an element with the different chemical properties but the same atomic masses. It cannot be because of same atomic mass. No, C will not be possible. And D, atoms of different elements with the different chemical properties but same atomic masses. Oh, this is also not possible. Among A and B, we have to select atoms of different elements, atoms of an element with the similar chemical properties. Similar chemical properties but different atomic masses. Understood? A will be the correct one because atoms of all elements are same. If a carbon you can take, carbon C12, C12, C13, C14, all are there. Here all atoms are containing carbon elements only. All are the carbon elements only. C13, C14. Here you can see atomic number is 6 only everywhere. Everywhere atomic mass is a different, and the atoms of all are the similar elements. All are element with the similar chemical properties. Atoms also same. Okay, this is the correct option. Next, move to the another question. A is the correct option for this question. Move to the next question. Name the neutral atom in the periodic table which has the same number of electrons as K plus and Cl minus. Yes, neutral atom. Yes, generally potassium is, here see, helium, argon, neon, krypton. 4 elements are given. Generally potassium is 19 atomic number. Then what is that? Electronic configuration is like a 2, 8, 8, 1. Okay. So when it lose one electron, it becomes K plus. So atomic number becomes as, means the electrons becomes 18. Okay. Now, so we'll go for a chlorine. Chlorine, when it is as a neutral atom, the atomic number is 17. 17, the electronic configuration is 2, 8, 7, 8, 7. Whenever it gain one electron, it becomes Cl minus. So 17 plus 1 electron, it becomes 18. 18 electrons it has, even it also has 18 electrons. You can think here potassium plus potassium cation and anion, it both are 18 electron. Among these noble gases or zero group elements or 18th group elements which has 18th. You know that helium is a 2, argon is 18, neon is 10, krypton is 36. So which is the correct element suitable to the potassium plus and Cl minus? Cl minus, 18th element, 18th atomic number element is a argon. So what is the correct answer? Argon, when as a neutral state, it contains same number of electrons, even the same atomic number. Okay, this is the way how to predict, how to understand the question and answer. Okay, move to the next question. If the letter R was used to represent any of the elements in the group, then the hydride and oxide of carbon would respectively be represented as. Yes, here R is a one element that is represent the elements in the group. Then what are the hydrides and the oxides? That is going to form hydrides and oxides. Means with the reaction with the oxygen and like a hydrogen. Hydrides and oxides are going to form. Yes, you know that what is the valence of hydrogen? 1. What is the valence of oxygen? Is a 2. Here, if the element is R, that element is as a valence is a 4. Valence is a 4. Here, the R is a valence is a 4. Because this element is a carbon. They are giving as a carbon, isn't it? What is the valence of carbon? Is a 4. So if you crisscross the valences, then we will write the chemical formula, isn't it? Isn't it? R1H4. 1 we no need to represent. This is the hydride formation of carbon. This is the hydride formation of carbon. Next, here if you can crisscross this 4 and 2, so R2O4. Here you know that from law of definite proportion, we have to take small whole numbers. So it will be RO2. This is the oxide formation of a carbon, oxide formation. You know that while you are writing the chemical formula, you used to crisscross the valences, no? Then it is easy to remember. According to the valences, easy to write the chemical formula. Think then what is the answer? What would be the answer? Answer B is the correct one because of CH4 is a methane. If you can take example, methane, and CO2 is a carbon dioxide. Okay, therefore option B is a correct one. Move to the next one. A metal M is in the first group of the periodic table. What will be the formula of its oxide? Yeah, same way, no? According to the valency, the first group, it is the first group. Here they are telling M is the first group. First group in the sense all the valency, first group elements shows the valency as a 1, isn't it? If you keep a plus or no problem, just a 1 you can take 1 as a valency. So here metal is a metal valency 1. They are asking oxide. Oxide oxygen valence is 2. Just you crisscross it, both you will get M2O, isn't it? This is the easy way to write if you know the valences. Option, what is the option? B is the correct one. M2O is the oxide. Move to the next last case based question, that is the 20th one. Read the following and answer the following questions. The pattern of concentric circles indicating the magnetic field around a straight conductor carrying current. Okay, this is the picture. Clearly observe it. What's the direction of current? How the magnetic fields are, which direction the magnetic field lines are represented. Then we'll see the questions. After observing the above figures, chosen from the following, which of the following would be the correct statement? Direction of magnetic field will depend on direction of current. Second one, direction of magnetic field will not depend on direction of current. Third one, strength of magnetic field will depend on magnitude of current. Fourth one, strength of magnetic field will not depend on magnitude of current. You can see from when the current is passing or carrying through a straight conductor, always the magnitude of magnetic field is directly proportional to the magnitude of the current. If the more current you are going to pass through the conductor, more magnetic field will get generated. And also the direction of the magnetic field is also directly proportional to the direction of the current. If you can change the direction of the current, the magnetic field lines also will get changed. You know that right hand thumb rule. If the current is passing down top to bottom, then magnetic field lines will move, means in a clockwise direction. If the current is in a upward direction, then magnetic field lines will be anti-clockwise direction. From the right hand thumb rule, you understood that right hand thumb rule. Okay, so this is the concept. Now you see which two statements are correct. Option B is a correct one, because of the first statement, the magnitude will depend on the direction of the current. This is the first one. Okay, next, strength of the magnetic field will depend. Strength means the magnitude only depend on the current, magnitude of current. So first statement and third statements are correct one. Understood? Move to the next question. Concentric circles with arrows centered at the wire AB are shown in the figure. You can see all the magnetic field direction, magnetic field lines direction is given, but they didn't give the direction of the current. That we are going to find. No current in AB. No current means no magnetic field also. This is a wrong one. Next, current flows from B to A. B to A. Here also same right hand thumb rule you have to apply. Right hand thumb rule. What is that right hand thumb rule? If the right hand thumb rule current is passing downwards, then magnetic field will be clockwise, and if the current will flows from down to top, then it will be anti-clockwise. You know that, right? What is that? Thumb rule, right hand thumb rule. You hold your pen in a top side, like a upward direction as a nib, and the magnetic field, how you are wrapping of your finger, that indicates the direction of the current. Anyway, the next question, again we will see that statement a little clear. And now you see the B is the current flow from the B. It is also wrong. Current flows from A to B. Isn't it? Because of when the current flows from top to bottom, then only it is in a clockwise direction. It is showing a clockwise direction, no? So option C is the correct one. The current is passing from A to B, isn't it? Move to the next question. Direction of magnetic field around straight conductor is found by using, yes, just now I told, no, right hand thumb rule is the correct one, where we are using to identify the direction of magnetic field. Okay, either it is a solenoid, either it is a straight conductor, either circular loop or a conductor, wherever we are using the right hand thumb rule to identify the direction of magnetic field. Okay, move to the next question. A positively charged particle projected towards west is deflected towards north by a magnetic field. The direction of magnetic field is, you can see, you know the directions, isn't it? You know the directions. Always east, your right hand side will be east, left hand side will be the, I am telling on your plain paper. On plain paper, you assume this is a complete one, plain paper. Plain paper. On the plane, your right hand side will be the east, left hand side will be the west, and the top is the north and the down is the south. If you know the directions clearly, then it is easy to understand. Right hand thumb rule, how the direction of the magnetic field. You know that the current, if the current can pass down clockwise direction, if the up means anti-clockwise direction. Here the current is not in a up and down, it is in a horizontal way. It is in a horizontal way, isn't it? Now you try to understand the question. A positively charged particle is moving from east to west. East to west. You know that if the positive charge is moving this side, in the sense electrons will move from opposite direction. So the current from positive to negative, isn't it, in this direction? In this direction. So the flow of current is in which direction? West to east. This is the direction of the current. It is the positively charged particle. It is the negatively charged particles. Negatively charged particles mean is nothing but the flow of current, isn't it? Current is flowing from west to east. West to east. So this is the direction of the current. Here you can see direction of the current clearly. Then you hold your pen or the pencil in the way how they are showing in the figure. They had a hold here rod. Instead of that, you can hold a pen. Then wrap your fingers around the pen. How can it will be? If you are wrapping means the fingers are coming out of the plane, isn't it? If you place your palm, and while you are wrapping, the fingers coming out of the plane, isn't it? It seems like that. Okay, the fingers are coming out of the plane. Due to this, the direction of magnetic field, you can see, this is the direction of magnetic field. Is a coming in this, is a coming out of the plane. Magnetic field direction is moving upward direction. Understood? From the right hand thumb rule, with the help of right hand thumb rule and the direction of the current, if you know the directions, easily we can understand, easily we can answer this type of questions. Remember, positive particle means opposite will be the current. Don't think the same east to west is a current. Okay. Many students used to do that mistake. That's why I'm reminding you. Try to understand the direction of the current. According to that, you have to select direction of magnetic field. Okay, option D is the correct one. The direction of magnetic field is vertically upward. Okay, sometimes outward to the outwards of the plane also. That's also you can write. Move to the next question. Magnetic field lines determine the shape of the magnetic field, only the direction of the magnetic field, only the relative strength of the magnetic field, both the direction and the relative strength of the magnetic field. Of course, magnetic field lines. From the field lines, what are the things we come to know? Direction of the magnetic field we can easily understand, no? Lines, from the field lines around the magnet. What are the, around the magnet we used to draw the magnetic field, no? If a straight conductor are there, around that of magnetic field lines, the direction we used to show. Okay, these magnetic field lines gives the direction of the magnetic field and also strength of the magnetic field. If the only two circles are there, then they increase the circles. There's a more magnetic field is generating, isn't it? So magnetic field lines gives both direction and relative strength of the magnetic field. B is the correct one. These are the case-based questions. 17th to 20 we had done. Okay, then move to the section B, which are 2 marks questions. All are 2 marks questions. You have 6 questions. Total 6 questions you have. Each question carries 2 marks. Okay, we'll see now. Question number 1 means 21. Question 21. What would you observe when zinc is added to a solution of iron sulfate? Which chemical reaction, right chemical reaction that taken place? Here iron sulfate is a ferrous sulfate, no, Fe2SO4. FeSO4. Here you can take, you know that, what is that, displacement reaction. Did you remember the displacement reaction? Where metal, high reactive metal used to displace low reactive metal. Okay. Now you see the green color of the solution will slowly disappear. Zinc will gradually dissolve and iron will get precipitated at the bottom of the beaker. Yes, this is the actual displacement reaction only. Iron is going to displace from the iron sulfate and form zinc sulfate. Zinc sulfate will get dissolved in a water clearly, but iron will deposit or settle at the bottom as a precipitate. Okay, understood? The green color, you know, iron sulfate is a green in color, so the color will disappear because of iron sulfate is going to turn into the zinc sulfate. No, due to that reason, this is going to a green color iron sulfate will get colorless solution, converts as a colorless solution. Iron will as a PPT, as a precipitate, will be at the bottom of the beaker. Okay, move to the next question. We will see the next another 2 marks question. Why are glomeruli considered as dialysis bags? Yes, where the glomeruli is located, did you remember that? Excretion, in the process of excretion, the complete blood used to go through the kidneys. You know that main function of the kidney is the purification of blood only. Whenever the blood goes to the kidney, there the nephron is there, a functional unit of the kidney. A functional unit of kidney is the nephron. Here in the nephron, there is a glomerulus, is a bag-like structure. A bag-like structure where the purification of blood will take place. Okay, how that will be? You can see why it is considered as a dialysis bag. Let's see the answer. The main function performed by the glomeruli are selective filtration. They filter small molecules containing glucose, salt, urea, etc. The large molecules such as proteins remain in the blood. Thus, glomeruli of the kidneys function as dialysis bags. Okay, this is our important part. Blood has to purify by removing unwanted materials which we don't want. Of course, glucose is a wanted material only. I'm telling which are when it goes that excess percentage are the which are very small particles used to filter. That's why the word is a selective filtration. Not all the substances are going to filter. Only selectively some substances are going to filter in glomerulus. Okay, due to that reason, glomeruli called as dialysis bags. Okay, understood? Let's move to the another question, which is the internal choice for the 22nd question. Either that or this you can select and write. Observe the following figure A and B given below and answer the following. Yes, picture you can see. This is what is this? Stomata, no? Small pores on a leaf. Even on STEM also, lenticels also will be, no? We'll see. Question A, name the labeled parts 1, 2, 3. Okay. B is write the difference between figure A and B. Yes, first we'll see the labeling. What is the one? These two are the God cells, right? God cells. Two, this is the pore, stomatal pore. And these three small dots will be, no? These small dots are the chloroplasts. Because of leaves are green in color, it has a chlorophyll pigments. Those are nothing but the chloroplast. Okay. Parts 1 is the God cell, 2 is the stomatal pore, 3 is the chloroplast. And what is the difference between these two? Here you can see the stomatal pore got opened. There is a more space opened. Here stomatal pore is completely closed, no? So God cells are continuously opening and closing. How we used to respire, taking in and giving out the gas or the air, like that plant also used to respire with the help of a stomata. Okay, these stomata having the God cells, these are helpful to opening and closing the pore, opening and closing the stomatal pore. Here, whenever they require, means whenever the water get in, not only respiration, not only exchange of gas, there is exchange of water also. There is a transpiration. You can see in the answer also, respiration and transpiration. Respiration, 1 second, yeah. Respiration and transpiration, both cases. Respiration and transpiration, both cases, in both cases, opening and closing of a stomata will be. Okay, that's why what is the difference between both figures here? A is opening of stomatal pore due to swelling of God cells. And B is a closing of pore due to shrink of God cells. Okay, during the respiration and also transpiration. This is the answer for this one. Okay, let's move to the another question. Why are danger signal lights red in color? Danger signals are red in color because the red colored light having lower wavelength is scattered the least by fog or smoke. Therefore, it can be seen clearly from the distance. That you know that blue light and red light both will be, but red light has a lower wavelength. It used to scattered very less by the particles, atmospheric particles we have, no? Those particles will get scattered very least, isn't it? That's why we can easily see the red color from very far. That is the reason why our danger signals all are in red color. Move to the next question. What would be the electron dot structure of the carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide, which have the formula of CO and CO2? Yes, this is the covalent bonding. Of course, the carbon valence is a 4, tetravalency. It used to form form a chemical bond by sharing of electrons. How the electrons will get shared, that we are going to express in the form of electron dot structure or Lewis dot structure. Any name is the same only. Here the valence electrons, all the valence electrons, you can see only the valence electrons used to represent on a element. This valence is a 4 of a carbon, and 4 electrons are valence electrons will be 4 because of 2, 4 is electron configuration. Here also 2, 6 is the valence electronic configuration. Valence electrons are 6. These valence electrons we used to represent on a atom. Okay, here only for the differentiation, one is with the cross and one is with the dot. If both dot or both cross, also not a problem, because only differentiation, we cannot understand which electron is sharing between them. That's why we used to represent one is with the dot, another one is with the cross. This complete structure is nothing but the electron dot structure. You can see 2 electrons of oxygen and 2 electrons of carbon used to share one side, and another oxygen two electrons used to share here. You can see here sharing between the oxygen and carbon. By sharing of electrons, they used to form double bond between them. One side double bond, another side double bond, CO2 molecule. In the same manner, carbon monoxide also, actually it has carbon, it has actually four electrons only. No, you can see two electrons are already on that, and here three are sharing. You can see generally it is not possible. Three bonds between the carbon and oxygen is not possible. Always they used to get stability by resonance. Those all the structures you will study in the higher classes. You try to remember one thing. Oxygen is a more electronegative. Always the bonded electrons, these are the electrons involved in the bond. No, these are called as a bonded electrons. They used to move to the high electronegative atom as a negative, and here by taking electrons from bond towards oxygen, then carbon gets negative positive charge because of it lost electrons. No, that's why it gets a positive charge. Always the carbon and oxygen both are stabilizing by the bonded electrons are shifting towards the oxygen. Okay, this is the way how they are getting stability. Anyway, the electron dot structure representation is this one. Okay, once you practice this, then it will be easy to remember. Then move to the next question. Why did Mendel choose pea plant for his experimentation? Yes, because very small plant, no? Lifetime also very less. See here some points are. Mendel selected garden pea for his experiment for the following reasons. One, the lifespan of this plant is very short, so results can be obtained and studied faster. If the very small lifetime means within if the plant can grow and the lifetime is only 2 months, if the 2 or 3 months, within 1 year 3 generations, 3 to 4 generations we can easily study. Okay, that's why lifespan is small, very less, means the possibility to study, possibility to understand the how the heredity will get understand easily. That is the one reason. Another one is garden pea has many characteristics which are in a contrast to each other. A small and short plant, and even the shape of the peas seeds also like different contrast characters they have. That's why he selected. And also this plant is small, easy to grow and reproduce large number of offsprings. You know that one pea seed, many pea seeds used to produce from the plant. No, so each pea seed gives a new plant. Many offsprings will produce very short time. No, that is, these are the three reasons why Mendel had selected pea plant for his experiment. Okay, let's move to the another question, which is the last question in this module under section B and also in this video. 26th one, a current of 0.5 ampere is drawn by a filament of an electric bulb for 10 minutes. The amount of electric charge that flows through the circuit is, yes, you can see what is the current? What is the current? Flow of charges, no? Or the particular unit. Current is nothing but flow of charges at unit time. Here they have given the current is given and time is given, and we can easily find the charge, isn't it? Let's see. Okay, this is the formula. Oh, sorry. This is the formula which you have to find the charge. You can write as a current into time taken, but time is given in a minutes. You have to convert that as a seconds. You will get 600 seconds. Okay, you will get 600 seconds, and the current is amperes are there. You have to substitute in this formula. We will get 300 coulombs. 300 coulombs is the charge which is passing, which is flowing with the 5 amperes current in 10 minutes. In 10 minutes. Okay, understood? This problem is a very easy one. Easily you can answer. This is about today's video, and next video I will explain from question number 27 to 33, which all are 3 marks questions. 7 3 marks questions will be. Those all I am going to explain in the second video. Thank you so much for your watching. Please subscribe, like, share, and press bell symbol to get notification from my channel. Okay, take care. Have a good day.